Uthermal already managed to qualify for the DSCL Open Grand Finals that will take place on the 9th of December. However, so will the winner of this match right here. Interestingly enough, we're on a map known as Acolyte LE. This is usually a extremely Protoss favorite map, although, however, we see Marksman going for an extremely early scout. Usually you actually see Protoss players walling the top of the ramp over here and then taking this as their natural expansion, but regardless, spawning in the top right corner of Acolyte LE in the orange colors, the Dutch colors, so to say, we have none other than Marksman. And his opponent, in the other corner of the map, hailing from the Czech Republic and playing with the green Zerg drones, we have none other than Tomikus. Tomikus actually also going for a very early scout. I wonder if he's planning to go for... Is he gonna... No. Okay, I was gonna say, is he gonna go for a proxy hatchery inside of his opponent's own base? That would be something very uncommon. Interestingly enough, though, he's gonna rally right over here, although there's still you know, an easy to take in-base expansion right there as well for the Protoss player. Now, let me try and explain to you really quickly why usually Zerg players don't want to play against Protoss on this map. One of the scariest army compositions for a Zerg to deal with is maxed out Skytles. I'm sure all of the Zerg players in the chat have experienced this once upon a time, and if you're a Protoss, you know exactly what I mean. If a Protoss player manages to max out on Skytles units primarily, they're gonna have an awful lot of army that is very hard to counter as a Zerg player. Now, for a Protoss to get to that army composition, they need at least 3 bases to properly deal with it. Okay? In order to get that army out, they need at least 6 gases. Now, on this map, you have this easy to take natural, and then you've got an easy to take in-base expansion as well.
Detected.
It's very terrifying.
How is it 7 months, and here I am still stuck at SC2?
Thank you very much, Apollo, for the resub right there. I appreciate that support for 7 months in a row. We do see Tomikus, however, just simply taking himself that quick 3rd hatchery here as well, following it up eventually with a spawning pool, but very greedy play. You really want me to talk about German words right here? Alright, we'll do one of those. Verschlimmbessern. There you go. There you go, Germany. Although there's no Germans in this game right now, it's going to be a match between the Czech Republic as well as the Netherlands. Now, you know, truth be told, I am from the Netherlands myself. Obviously, I would like to see Marksman win, but then again, I do play the Zerg pieces here primarily myself, so I wonder what we've got in store right here for us. We do see the Twilight Council go down very early. Once again, Tomiku's not going for the Nemetai Scarapace, just simply going for the super quick, greedy Zerg plays. Eventually, we'll be able to start up the Zerging speed if he so decides to choose. There we go. We do see him take that, but the first Adept is going to make his way across the map right around the same time that the Queen comes out, but still, a couple of workers may end up dying here. Good micro so far. One drone will end up dying, however, and that means that the Protoss Adept will be forced on out of there, but not without, at the very least, a little bit of scouting information here as well. Stalker now going after that Overlord. Marksman actually adjusting in this series so far as well, realizing that his opponent is not going for Overlord speed. He's hiding all of the tech structures that he's got in the far corner of the base, recognizing that this is more than likely not gonna get scouted. And while Tomikus currently knows that there's no 3rd Nexus down just yet, that leaves about 27 other potential Protoss builds in the earlier part of this game that the Protoss player could be going for right now, and it's very hard to judge exactly what it is you're going up against. Because of this, the Zerg is indeed going to be forced to make those blind spore crawlers, making them very early on into this game already. And at this point, I mean, Zerg is essentially blind. While he's got those, you know, very early, quick 3 bases out, and he's going to be able to power out a lot of workers, he doesn't know what he's going up against, and it could potentially cost him the game. Lara is going down here already, though. He's gonna be capable of getting those overseers out, which are gonna be crucial because the Dark Shrine is finishing up in just a couple of seconds. There are 4 gateways right here in total. That does mean that once again we will see the Archon drop shenanigans go down after some Dark Templar harass here from Marksman. But he can indeed follow this up very conveniently as well, with a 3rd hatchery, or a 3rd Nexus rather, inside of that base. And I do really like this setup. So far though, really quite surprised here with the lack of vision here from Tomikus. I mean, he really doesn't have any info here at the front of the Protoss' base. And he knows that there's no 3rd base up just yet, and he still continues powering out more and more workers. He saw the 3rd Nexus go down just now, and there's actually a Roach Warren coming in there as well. So even though he doesn't really see a whole lot, maybe just simply seeing that 2nd gateway there at the front gives him the opportunity to go for the Roach Warren here no matter what. Of course, Roaches are great at countering this early game, you know, Roach, or rather the early game Archon drops. Zerglings are usually not going to cut it, but very nicely done right here by the Zerg player. Even though he hasn't quite scouted what's going on, he's making the most out of this scenario, and even though he's not quite going to be capable of defending this just yet, the first Overseer is currently morphing in, and while the drones will be disrupted from mining here for just a little bit of time, oh my god, the Warp Prism falls! That's a big kill right there for the Zerg player, because not only does that mean that there's not going to be any continued, you know, Archon or Raz here for a little while, he's also going to be able to pick up these Dark Templar here, potentially. Interestingly enough, though, the Overseer was indeed morphed in on the other side of the map. Tomika's not really doing a whole lot with that one just yet, but there's another one right here. Finally moving into that natural location here for the Zerg player, and that means that eventually every single last of these Dark Templar will get picked off, with the exception of the two that ran for their lives. They're like, the Warp Prism is gone, quick! Run back home! No, brother, don't turn around! But their brother ended up dying, and he was never heard from again. We do see that Spire coming in right here from Tomikus after realizing that his opponent is not going for a starport. Of course, that really only leaves the option right now for, you know, Colossi as well as Immortals. If there's already, of course, that robotics bay or that robotics facility down right now. Overseer trying to figure out what exactly it is that the Protoss is going for, and I think that Tomikus must be pretty happy with what he's just seen. I mean, sure, he's going up against 3 base Protoss, and that's absolutely terrifying, but Marsman currently does not know about the Spire here whatsoever. And if you get caught off guard, right, if you are a Protoss player, and you get caught off guard against, say, 20 Mutalisk, that is essentially going to be game over. There is now a Mothership Core out. It's got enough energy for 1 photon overcharge. That is not a whole lot. Look at the amount of units right here for the Protoss player that shoot up. It's not a lot. He's also warping in more Archons, and Archons are going to be great if they are in position, but Mutalisk are extremely quickly. We saw him make use of those units earlier today as well. Tomikus is going to be capable of running around here for an extended period of time, and he's actually taking the 4th base here as well. Spire is done though. Mutas are indeed being produced here. He's going for that Roach Muta base composition. It does look like Marksman is currently aiming for what could potentially be a 4th base here as well. Just simply making a lot of units though. I wonder if he's actually planning to move across the map here with a rather menacing force. Not having a whole lot of workers though. He's only got 57 Harvesters at this point in the game. That's actually not that much. Marsman actually does not have a whole lot of stuff, and on top of that, he's actually just hit a slight supply block. That is something that we need to keep in mind. There's only a single adept right here. That means that his army will need to turn around, or these units are going to get into the base. Warpin right there is not quite going to be in time, and the units will indeed enter the main base. Mutas are now flying across the map here as well. They were indeed scouted by the majority of this army, but they are still fighting against a rock. That means, I think, that Tomikus is going to be able to make its way into the Zergs, or into the Protoss' main base. Stalkers are now being target fired as well, so that means that these Mutas are going to have free reign. 20 probes already end up dying at the exact same time though. Marsman is making his way across the map. Great spine setup going down here already, but this is an extremely high DPS Protoss force. They're going to be able to deal a heck of a lot of damage. At this point too though, the Mutas are still going to town here inside of the Protoss' main base. So while he's desperately trying to warp in more and more Stalkers, a handful of Mutas are going to be able to deal with that one just fine. Gotta be careful though, there is going to be an Archon that does immediately get picked off. The splash damage of course of the Archon can be extremely terrifying. And while Tomikus is busy on the other side of the map, taking down as much as he possibly can, the Mothership Core will end up dying here as well. So that's going to be the last photon overcharge here for the time being. Only 3 probes remain. And I think that Tomikus is going to try and potentially take down as much as he possibly can. At the same time though, while Marshman doesn't quite have an army here that can clean this up very rapidly, he is going to be capable of potentially dealing a lot of damage. And I love this! Great positioning right there on the sentries. He can go for the force fields. Will be able to land that as well. That means that there are no longer any drones out here on the map, with the exception of a couple that were made at the 4th base location. So far, unscouted here by the Protoss player. There are indeed some resources available here for Tomikus, but it's not a whole lot. He's desperately trying to make as much stuff as he possibly can, and while a ton of workers end up dying here as well, we are in extremely close last base scenario. There's a single Warp Prism now moving across the map, transporting what is the most valuable unit in this game here as well, a single probe. However, more Mutas are now coming in as well. The probe will not live, and that means that I think that this was indeed the final of these structures that we will see here from the Protoss player. I mean, Of course, there are still quite a few going down here, but the Zerg is actually losing all of his units here on the other side of the map. There is now a drone here out on the map as well for Tomikus. He does still have 6 workers out as well, whereas 5 of those are indeed at that 4th base location. Protoss will figure out exactly where that is located. And the question is there actually enough Zerg right now to finish this off quickly enough? I don't know if that's quite going to be true. Tomikus did just take up another base. This is the last one that he will be able to get because he's only got 240 minerals. And Marsman is actually making the most out of this scenario. 2 drones remaining here for the Zerg player. He's got one of them morphed into a hatchery, and then 2, of course, are still out on the map as well, trying to make the most of this scenario. But this is going to be a very, very close base trade scenario. Tomikus is desperately trying to kill every last of these structures here from the Protoss player, but is he going to be capable of doing so quickly enough? Protoss is flying across the map with an hallucinated Phoenix right there as well. He figures out where the last hatchery is located. Are there any additional buildings right now here for the Zerg player? I think not. He's trying his very best. Target firing down that hatchery. It does get cancelled there, just barely in the nick of time. Where are the last of the structures right now for the Zerg? There's another drone hiding in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. That means that the hatchery right there will just barely be taken as well in the nick of time. Extremely close match there. A single drone is now being able to sneak away here as well. And the Mutas, the longer that this goes on, right, the Mutas are trying their very best to make the most out of this scenario. A drone indeed is going to try and pick up a single extractor, but a Zealot immediately available there is going to try and absolutely shred it to pieces. Dark Templar now also moving across the map, trying to make the most of this scenario. The single extractor right here at the 3rd base location, or I guess the 4th base location here of the Zerg, will get picked off as well. Mutas will be able to do as much damage as possible, but Marsman finds the last of the structures, and he actually obtains the victory in one of the closest base trade scenarios that I have seen in a very long time. Oh my god. That is absolutely insane. And that means that out of group number, or the very first group right there, out of group A, 2 Dutch players will indeed make their way to the DSCL Open. And I think that there's only one appropriate moment right here. What an emotional moment! Prince of Fun! Pump it up, pump it up! Can we go louder? That's maximum.